We have so many stories in our lives, but our stories are not always heard. On the Hear My True Story podcast, we tell our own true stories.
Before the white car parked, our head teacher had scattered. Looking at him, I could only see his tie that was flying backwards, waving at us, and he disappeared in thin air.
I want to share my life story. I want to share my voice with the people because I know that just a small joke I can tell through this podcast, it will make someone smile.
When you ask me what I fear most in life, I would definitely respond to you and say it's fear itself.
We are fighting for togetherness. We are fighting for equal rights. We are fighting to end injustice.
You don't have to be a storyteller or writer because, guess what? Life writes the best stories.
Hear my true story.
In this episode, we have a conversation with Zoey, one of the storytellers and director from Uganda who participated in the Hear My True Story Kampala Season 1. The sound in this episode is not really good, but I hope you bear with us as we have this conversation with Zoey.
Welcome to Hear My True Story Kampala Season 1, where we tell true stories and have conversations about real-life experiences with non-storytellers and storytellers from Uganda. Hear My True Story Kampala is a joint project between Hear My True Story podcast and Omoti Creative, an organization in Uganda. Omoti Creative is an arts organization that provides safe and free learning spaces for creative arts, educational support, and cultural exchange opportunities to children and youths in Uganda.
Hello, listeners. I would like to welcome you to our conversation with Zoey, a storyteller. Wow. I'm sure you listened to the story from Zoey. She was the director of these stories, working with people who are storytellers and those who are not storytellers to tell stories. And as Hear My True Story Project Kampala Season 1, we were so excited to work with Zoey as the director of the project in Kampala. Yes, Zoey, I would like to ask you, first of all, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm really fine.
That's good. I would like you to introduce yourself to the listeners of our podcast, Hear My True Story, and then we go on like that.
Okay, thank you. Hello, our listeners to the stories of Hear My True Story podcast. My name is Kayendeke Zoey Patricia. I am internationally known as Zoey the Storyteller. I'm a storyteller, I'm a poet, and I'm a theater maker and performer for both children and adults. I had the theater training from Cape Town at Magnet Theatre, and it was such an honor. From that training, we did a theater piece for 3 to 7 years old, called Plastica, that has toured. It has toured Croatia, it has toured South Africa twice, it has toured Angola, and we are planning that as the world opens up, we can have it tour around the world. I have done a music international collabo with a South African artist called Ms. Lanta. I cannot pronounce it because of the click sounds, but yeah, it's called Ms. Lanta and it's called the Chalo Change.
Wow.
Yeah, yes. And
Wow.
it's been an honor directing the storytellers of Hear My True Story podcast.
Wow. Thank you so much. So you are
Yes.
really a talented person. You're a storyteller,
Thank you.
you're a musician, you're a theater maker, you work with children to tell stories.
Yes.
You do theater.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, I would just like to ask you something simple. How
Okay.
do you manage to work with people who are not storytellers and have them tell stories?
Well, there's a storyteller in everybody. In everybody, every living thing, there's a storyteller because we tell stories, we live our stories. So it is easy as a storyteller to bring out that storyteller within that person, and they have that storyteller manifest and tell the stories. So that's how easy it was working with the storytellers of Hear My True Story, Kampala, Zone 1.
Wow. I mean, it is true, everyone is a storyteller, but they are themselves feel like maybe I can't tell a story, but your work is to tell them, you can't tell one.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can you maybe tell us a little bit about how did you become like an artist, or maybe what really made you to choose this profession that you're doing right now?
Being an artist, I think I was born one. I didn't go to school or class. The we shall clap for my teachers in primary school. They saw me and they knew there was an artist in me, and they would train us in school choir, but always putting me at the forefront. It's like they knew something. They knew something that I did not know, and they would push me beyond my limits. And when I went to university, I studied statistics and economics, and I tried working, but I would always quit because the manager always found me writing a movie or writing a song or writing a story, writing a poem. I didn't have any interest at all in office work. I just went because it was the order of the day. When you leave university, you get a job. After getting a job, you get married, you have children, then you die. That's like because it was just an order. But then I found myself on stage. The artist in me was calling out to me. And when I went on stage, I never looked back. And that's where the journey began from.
Wow. And then that brings another question from me.
Yes.
Could you maybe tell us a little bit about how is it like being an artist in Uganda or maybe in Africa? What is it like? Maybe there are listeners there who imagine maybe artists in Uganda are like artists in the US or in Europe. But could you maybe share a little bit of how it is like being an artist?
Being an artist in Uganda compared to the rest of the world, I would say it's like sitting on a tortoise, trying to run because it is cloudy and there's going to be a heavy pour, but there's nowhere you can hide. There's nowhere you can take shade, but you need to get to the next town. That's how it is being an artist here in Uganda. It's slow and frustrating. You have the talent and you want to give out there, but the world wants to receive it at a free cost. They don't think that an artist in Uganda has bills. They don't think that an artist in Uganda has to eat. And because of that, your work gets piled on the table because there's no way you can put it out in the studio. There's no way you can put it out from the book where you've been taking notes, where there's rough work to put it to final copy. So it is slow. It's a slow thing for an artist in Uganda. It's like the saying that a prophet is not appreciated in his own town. Every artist has a story here to tell that we don't feel appreciated. We feel like the world here. For example, in our families, being an artist, they associate it with hooliganism. They think when you're an artist, you're a muyai, you're a hooligan, there's no future, you can't be one, and yet it is talent, you know. So here, most artists will tell you they're a bit frustrated by the market for our products. There's just a small reception for our work.
Is it different from other parts of Africa, or because you have worked in South Africa a bit?
Yes,
you have
yes.
done projects in other parts of Africa. Is it the same?
No. I have seen artists elsewhere are appreciated when they're appreciated and they are united. They have organizations that support them. For example, when we had to go to Croatia, when our work was going to Croatia, I missed out because of I could not afford my ticket, and yet the artist on the same project who was from Mozambique, his government, there's an organization that caters for artists. His government gave him transport, part of his transport, so he was able to go. There are organizations in different countries that support their artists, unlike here. It's quite different. It's quite different, yes.
Yeah, I really understand because I'm also Ugandan and I do art in Uganda. I really understand this too. For our listeners who don't know, Uganda is in East Africa and at the same time it is in Africa, and art in Uganda is just like what Zoe said. It's not an easy job. Yeah. But then I want to ask you another question. As a woman, how was it taken by your family to decide to leave your profession that you studied and you chose to settle for such a profession of being an artist?
I tell you, up to now, I have, one of my uncles is angry with me. They feel they wasted their money to take me up to university to study what I studied, and then I'm not in office. And they feel like, even my late brother, they feel if it wasn't for music, he would not have died. If it was not for the arts, he would be alive if he was in an office. My family really frowned upon my decision. It was until I started to fly out, until I started to help my siblings with tuition, until I started to do those small things that they started to accept, until they started to see me on TV, that they started to now accept. But up to now, they still think I need a job. They don't think art is a profession. They don't think art is a means of survival. They think it is a luxury. And even friends, I have many friends who don't think what I'm doing is right. Yeah. And also they feel like, as a woman, art will slow you down. You need to be married. You need to be having children. And now you're on stage. I had one of my aunties tell me, so you go on stage so for the men to see you. They think it's a kind of prostitution for a woman to be on stage. They think she's selling herself, you know.
Yeah. I get that. The cultural perspective and also the society expectation of art is different. But is it the same just now, or is there hope of it changing?
For my family?
Yeah.
Because now I became independent and I'm on my own. I don't receive so many calls telling me to leave the art space. So I think they accepted it.
And then for the society?
Yeah, for society still has its own view, female artists. They believe for you to break through, you must have a certain old gentleman who's money. They think, society thinks that a woman they want to dictate what you sing about, what you write about. They want to dictate because you're a woman. In Africa or in Uganda, a woman is seen a certain way right from our old traditions. A woman is seen as a woman can't stand up for herself or for other people. A woman is supposed to be is seen as the kitchen, or a mother. You're supposed to be bearing children. You're supposed to be in the kitchen cooking. That's the place that society gave a woman in Africa. So society still has that view, of about a woman. Yeah.
Yeah. The cultures are still deep rooted.
Yes.
Of
yes.
gender, in the gender perspective, and that's another story we can.
Yes, and like they think you've even had stories how they'll pin out a certain female artist, and they're like, for those ones they cannot get married. They think an artist cannot make a good mother, an artist cannot make a good wife, and they think, she cannot have children because she has to keep a good body. Those ones, they cannot cook because being a celebrity should be unruly, should be a man. Society still has those talks about female artists.
But you are among the famous artists in Uganda that are really now being appreciated of their work. You're being nominated for awards. Which award was that? Could you share with our listeners?
The Janzi Awards. I think that it's the first of its kind. It's the first season of the Janzi Awards. The new kind of awards that appreciates raw talent from Uganda, appreciating the sound of Uganda. And I was nominated against someone that I love and admire. She's a woman known for singing about our culture, promoting our culture, and we were nominated in the same category of culture. Culture is something to do with culture preservation. Nanduja. Nanduja. I was so happy when I saw that. Just a nomination. I felt like even if I don't win, that's just a goal for me. Yes.
Yeah. And this also changes the perspective of the society about a young woman like you and your family members to see you out there celebrated, nominated, and you inspire so many young girls in the community.
Yes.
Join us in part 2 of this conversation with Zoey.
These stories were directed by Zoey the storyteller. Audio production for the stories was done by Adnan Singh Kumba. Many thanks to our project coordinator Nicholas Kayiwa and all the storytellers of Hear My True Story Kampala Season 1. For more stories, please visit hearmytruestory.com. For more information about Umuti Kreativ, visit umutikreativ.com or send an email to info@umuti.org. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to our podcast, Music by Edwin Matovo, hosted and produced by Otako. Subscribe to our podcast for more stories and visit us on our website, hearmytruestory.com, for more stories. All the links are listed in the show notes of this podcast.